While the update to the Nike Pegasus 40 was a minor one, the changes were significant enough that after 300 miles, I can honestly say it's a much better shoe over the previous model. But in the current climate of running shoe culture, I'm going to say that a shoe like the Peg 40, which is a quiet shoe, albeit a boring shoe, is more important now than it ever has been. The Nike Pegasus is the shoe that I spend the most time in any given year, and it's been that way for the past 4 or 5 years, and this is no different. This shoe actually has about 125 miles on it, and then this shoe I have well over 220 miles on. So I've spent a lot of time in this shoe, and while it is a very minor update from the Peg 39, and it's just an upper update, the differences and the changes Nike have made here make this a much better shoe. Now let me break down the couple of changes here that actually make this a better change. The biggest one is really the midfoot lockdown. It's these two colored bands that you can see in this shoe. This is what Nike is calling the arch lock system, meaning this piece of material starts here, wraps under the shoe, comes down the sidewall, wraps under the shoe, comes back up the other side, wraps up here, and then anchors on this side. So you effectively have a band that runs across the entire midfoot, which makes the lockdown, the midfoot lockdown in this shoe, exceptional. Much better than the Flywire that was in 39, and frankly, I can't remember a peg that had this good of a lockdown. The heel in the shoe, the heel counter in this shoe is very stout, it's very padded. There's no heel slippage at all. Pegs have generally never really suffered from that, but the midfoot lockdown on this shoe is exceptional, and that's one of the main things that makes this shoe so much better than the 39. The other big change is really the upper material. Now, this shoe did gain a little weight, and at first I was kind of unsure as to where the weight was. Now I really understand, because now I've spent a lot of time with this shoe. I understand what's going on in this upper, and there's some significant changes here over the 39. Now, you can see this material, and it's this sort of textured weave of a material. It's not Flyknit. I actually don't know what it is. Nike doesn't really label it as anything, but you can see that the entire upper is made up of this material. And they changed the weave of it strategically based on what the shoe needs to do. So in the heel counter, it's a fairly tight weave, and you can see where they need to reinforce it along the medial side here. It gets a very tight weave, but in the forefoot or on the sides of the foot, you can see medial, lateral, it's a much more open weave. So this material has a nice amount of give to it. It's not stretchy, it's not like Flyknit, but there is enough give in it. And when it's engineered, like in this area in the toe box where you can stretch this out a little bit, it makes the toe box have more room in it. The toe box in this shoe is much more roomy over the 39. Now it's the same width, it's the same height. It's just this material will give a little bit more, so your feet can actually move around much more. Your toes can splay, and on longer runs where your feet do swell, I've not had any issues with any kind of toe or foot problems in this shoe. I did have some minor issues in the 39. One of the other changes in this shoe is that this material you see on the outside, it's actually 2 layers of material. So this material you see on the outside, there's actually sort of another layer of this material on the inside, which really wraps around your foot, conforms to your foot, and with the improved midfoot lockdown that's in this shoe, gives the shoe an overall very conforming fit to your foot. Again, the toe box is very open. It's not constricting at all. It's just kind of a nice warm hug for your foot. It really envelops your foot and it feels really good. And with this exceptional midfoot lockdown, you really have nothing to worry about in this shoe. So overall, this shoe is, I think, the superior upgrade to the 39. And after close to 300 miles in both pairs of these shoes, so again, 2 pairs, I'm not getting any sort of substantial wear in the upper on either one of these, and this one has more miles on it. Again, I wash my shoes, I take care of my shoes, so generally I'm not getting beat up uppers. I am getting some wear on the on the outsole of the shoe. Generally, I'm pretty rough on the lateral side of the forefoot of my right foot. Just something about my gait. I think I scuff that foot a little bit sometimes if I'm not really focused on clean mechanics. And that definitely is a high wear area for me. And you can see that in this video. I am getting more wear in there. But overall, for this shoe, I'm not getting any sort of substantial wear. And in fact, the Peg 40 has been better wearing, I feel like, than the Peg 39. I think it's the same rubber. Maybe it's something to do with the fit of the shoe. I don't know, but I feel like I'm getting less wear in the 40 than I did in the 39. And again, I can't really explain that because I think it's the same material. So again, I think the Peg 40 is a very worthy upgrade to the 39, and it feels like the Peg, to me, is back to what the Peg needs to be. It's that neutral, all-around shoe that just works for really everything you need a running shoe to do. It is the epitome of the daily trainer. And this is where I think the real importance of the Pegasus really comes in now. Like I said in the intro, we're in this current climate in running shoe culture that sales teams at a lot of brands are trying to tell you that you need a plated daily trainer. And something like the Pegasus is really the antithesis to that. This is the anti-plated daily trainer. This is the classic, traditional, neutral, flexible daily trainer. This is what a daily trainer needs to be, not those high stack plated versions that are kind of the hot thing right now, the super trainers, if you will. And even more so with the Peg, one of the other key things about the Peg, even beyond the whole thing of running in a plated trainer as a daily trainer, is the Peg has a very traditional geometry, very flat, very little toe rocker or toe spring. It's got a fairly traditional, I would say React foam now is a fairly traditional material. It's still a modern material. It's still an advanced material. I think a lot of people say that React should be replaced because it's boring. Well, not every shoe needs to be excited. I think the Pegasus is a very quiet shoe. You can call it a boring shoe, but I think that's why this shoe is so valuable, is that this is a shoe that rewards consistency. It rewards you working on form. It rewards you working on your foot strike. It's not necessarily a shoe that you can go out and just sort of tune out and just sort of clog through a bunch of miles. You can do that in this shoe. It'll protect your foot, but this shoe really rewards you the more effort and the more sort of time you spend thinking about your mechanics, thinking about your foot strike, and really working through building foot and leg strength. This is the shoe to do that in. And you've heard me talk about that stuff endlessly on this channel, but I think it's so important. And it's one of the things that the plated daily trainers just are never going to give you. And I think that's my biggest problem with plated daily trainers or the super trainers for everyday use, is that you're really doing yourself a disservice running in that type of shoe all of the time. I love training in plated shoes. I train in them all of the time, but I make a point to run in a shoe like this, a neutral, flexible trainer that's going to build a lot of foot strength in me. And again, you're just not getting that in one of those plated super trainers. It's almost to the point where I feel like if the other manufacturers are going to sell you a plated daily trainer, they need to give you a free pair of Nike Pegasuses as well, so you have that counterbalance to the plated shoe. Because the Peg works great with the super trainers, and if you like those super trainers, you want to run a lot in a plated shoe, bounce that off of the Pegasus. And there's other models. Saucony makes the Ride. Adidas makes the SL. There's other models that are just boring or quiet daily trainers. Those are the shoes that you want to have at the foundation of your running rotation, and make sure that you're spending at least some time in if you love those plated daily trainers or the super trainers. Thank you for making it to the end of the video. If you like this content, consider subscribing. You'll see more content like this pop up in your feed. If not, drop a like on this video because it helps this channel continue to grow, which I'm always appreciative of. And with that, I'll catch you in the next one.